You are listening to A Scary State, and this week we're talking about Idaho. So, Lauren?
Yes, Kenzie?
Let's get scary. See, this is unfortunate because I forgot that I was doing the intro and I already had my Idaho joke ready.
Do you want to just say it?
Idaho? No, Idaho.
Original. That used to be like the biggest joke in middle school. Oh my God, calling someone a hoe.
Or like when my kids do this all the time, and I try to explain to them, I'm like, I know you're trying to irritate each other, but in the process, you irritate me because they'll start mimicking each other.
Oh,
And so they'll try to pull the whole like, I'm stupid.
Yeah.
You know? Never works.
no.
And the mimicking is just driving me nuts. And so that's why I'm like, stop.
So you need a little squirt gun.
Oh.
Joe recently realized that he really needs to stop eating gluten. And so, I know. My
From
husband...
the man who has celiac disease.
Yes, I know. He was supposed to stop when he was 25. He's now 31. But he officially decided, like, I need to stop. But so he works with my mom now. And I told her, I was like, I give you full permission that if you ever see him eating gluten, to spray him with a squirt gun. And so I don't know if it's happening, but I'll buy her one if I need to.
Well, sometimes what I say to my kids, which I don't finish the thought because I know I can't. But if I really am like, if they're just pushing it, I looked at them and I go, if your mom was standing here right now and seeing what you were doing, would she be proud of you?
No.
Would you do this?
I'm not mad. I'm disappointed.
Mm-hmm. Would you do this in front of her? No. So you're doing it for me because? I don't know. And in my head, what I want to say is the difference between me and your mom is she can hit you.
But you realize maybe not the best thing to say as I'm a teacher.
No. I swallow it. Which is why I say them in my head.
Yeah.
The self-control I have is...
It is actually phenomenal.
Right. Which is probably why I end up cursing so much here, because I've kept it in all day.
Because you're allowed to.
Yes. It's free. I've gotten really good at it. It's natural. Just you put a kid in front of me and all of a sudden, switch. So, but no, I don't want to hit my children. I just want to knock some sense into them.
Oh, yeah,
Not like painfully, just like, like
a little bop.
What was that show? NCIS?
Oh!
Where he
Gibbs.
would bop them on, that's just sometimes, just want a little bop on the side of the head.
Yep, that's what we would do sometimes. I would do it to like Jared or mom and go, boop, Gibbs them.
I don't think my mom would have been very happy with me if I did that.
Probably not. We never did it hard. To Jared, I would do it harder.
Well, sure.
But to mom, it was just a boop.
Yeah, because she's like one of those people, like you hit them and they're like, oh my God, ow.
Well, I wonder where you get it from.
I don't do that.
Mackenzie. Any minor inconvenience, you'll be switching your legs. I cut this out of every episode. You switch your legs.
Because I banged my knee. That hurts.
No, but even just when you switch normally, you go, oh.
Because my knees have been bent and it hurts to unbend them.
Same thing as being hit and then being dramatic. So let's talk about Idaho.
Okay.
So actually, we do have some true crime updates.
Ooh, yes.
So I didn't want to focus on this too much, but because we're covering Idaho, I thought it was right to mention this because this is what's going on with the case so far. So as of May 17th, 2023, Brian Kohberger has been indicted by a grand jury on charges of murder and burglary.
Okay.
So 4 counts of murder and 1 count of burglary. If found guilty, he'll be facing the death penalty.
I was going to say.
Yes. So as we know, he was arrested on December 30th, 2022 in Pennsylvania. He waived extradition, so was sent back to Idaho, a state that has a death penalty, like we talked about that other time.
Yeah.
Where I don't think Pennsylvania does.
I don't think so.
But Idaho does.
Yeah.
So during his arraignment, which was set for May 22nd, so literally as we're recording 3 days ago.
Yeah.
And May 22nd was actually the day I was working on these notes. The judge will state his rights and what charges are being filed against him. So it's believed that he will enter a plea for each of his charges. If he pleads guilty, a pre-sentence investigation will be ordered. So this sort of investigation is where a probation officer gathers information about a convicted person and like all the crimes that they're being charged with. That information goes into a report known as the pre-sentence investigation report, or PSIR. This information is important to help the judge determine what type of sentence the person should get.
Okay.
If he pleads innocent, which is expected, the case will head to trial. If he refuses to enter a plea, like remains silent, the court will enter a plea of not guilty on his behalf. So if this does become a death penalty prosecution, the whole time frame for all of this will increase drastically.
Oh.
So as of May 22nd, he remained silent, making his legal team plead not guilty for him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to go to a trial, and that will happen on October 2nd.
Damn.
So we have to wait for the trial and everything, but as we get the updates, we will talk about them.
Isn't there an amendment somewhere in there that says something about a speedy trial?
Yes, so I think it's something with them having 6 months from the date of whatever.
Okay.
And so from this day, that's like 5 months.
Right.
That's
true. I guess, it is within the year, so.
Right. And then also we have Lori Vallow. So if you're part of our Facebook group, I posted this on our Facebook page. If you're not part of our Facebook group, go become part of our Facebook group. So also, I know we're a little late with this, but this is also out of Idaho. So Lori Vallow was found guilty of murdering her 2 children and of conspiracy to murder her husband's first wife nearly 4 years ago.
You can watch this documentary on Netflix called Sins of Our Mother. It's very good.
Yes. So she killed her 2 children, JJ Vallow, who was only 7, and Tylee Ryan, who was 17, around September 2019. At that point, they had been missing for months. It was believed that her husband, Chad Daybell, had helped. She also conspired with Chad to murder Chad's new wife, Tammy Daybell, in October of 2019. So she was convicted on all charges, to include 2 counts of first-degree murder, 3 counts of conspiracy to commit murder, and grand theft for selling her children Social Security benefits after their murders. So yeah, this story is absolutely batshit. So if you're interested, there are articles, like Mackenzie said, there's a documentary about it.
It's very good.
But yes, so I just wanted to give 2 little true crime updates, and it's just weird that they both do come out of Idaho, and they've just been really big in the news. So to keep people updated on those things.
You wild girl.
Yeah. So now onto the more fun parts of Idaho.
The factoids.
So because it's worth mentioning yet again, Idaho is the largest producer of potatoes.
Gotta
love them.
Not any reason that I would want to move to Idaho. I would move to Idaho just to be around more potatoes.
For the potatoes.
There is not a form of potato that I do not love.
No, absolutely.
Baked, fried, tater tots, mashed, twice baked, loaded baked,
Vodka?
sweet. What?
Vodka?
Vodka.
Yeah, there's one alcohol. Maybe it's not vodka, but there is alcohol made out of potatoes.
Oh, yeah, my dad drinks that.
Yeah.
It's something, it sounds like a foreign country. Can't stand something with an L, and there's a few consonants that are next to each other that just don't make sense.
But yeah, good potatoes.
Very
All
good.
potatoes. We love potatoes.
Not a single bad potato out there.
So also speaking of potatoes, apparently right when midnight hits on New Year's Eve, a giant 17-foot or 5.18 meter potato is dropped from a crane.
Love that.
Yep. The largest potato
I would go
chip.
watch that versus
Over the
going
ball drop.
over the ball
Absolutely.
drop.
And then you eat all different forms of potatoes.
Hell yeah.
Ugh. Love potatoes.
It's like going to Wisconsin for cheese.
Yes. Potatoes and cheese.
Mm-hmm.
So the largest potato chip.
We'll go to Wisconsin for cheese. Sorry. I told Lauren I was going to talk as much today. We'll go to Wisconsin for cheese, and we'll fly over to Idaho, have some potatoes, and then we'll boop down to California for some wine.
Wow. All right.
All right.
Absolutely down.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Road trip plan now.
Yeah. Road.
Fly trip plan now. Road trip in the air.
Yeah.
All right. So the largest potato chip can be found at the Potato Museum in Blackfoot. It measures at 25 by 14 inches.
We have to go to the Potato Museum in Blackfoot.
Obviously, if we're going to be in this area, we're going to go to potato chip things. Is it pronounced Boise or Boise?
Boise.
Okay. And Boise, central Idaho, is famous for...
It's fucked because noise. Well, yeah, noise, boys. Yeah, Boise.
Okay, so that place. It's famous for, ice cream potatoes. I'm not sure what it was, so I looked it up. According to dailymeal.com, it is, quote, vanilla ice cream covered in cocoa and topped with whipped cream and chocolate shavings, meant to resemble a potato with dirt and sour cream on top. The recipe comes straight from Lou Allen himself, the king of the ice cream potato. Would you try this?
No, because I don't like coconut.
It doesn't, I never said coconut. I said cocoa.
Oh, sorry. My brain heard coconut. No, I mean, yes, but I first was like, ooh, that sounds weird. But then I was like, I constantly dip my fries in my McFlurry.
Okay, wow, I didn't think about that.
So,
and we also said we like any form of potato.
Yeah.
So I feel like it would be
mixing potato with ice cream is the sweet and savory that I love.
All right, so we have just like a checklist of all the things we're going to do now in Idaho.
Yeah.
Cool.
All potato related.
All potato related, obviously.
Right.
We can record human activity back as many as 14,500 years ago in Idaho. The star garnet is Idaho's state gem, but that gem is only found naturally in 2 places in the entire world, Idaho and India.
Now I know what I'm going to do for my state facts.
The longest...
Fun facts. Not state facts. You're doing the state facts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun fact.
Fun facts.
The largest straw bale maze exists in Rupert and even holds the title with the Guinness World Records. So a straw bale maze. So, do you know the bales of straw?
Mm-hmm.
Maze. This big one.
Huh?
Yeah. Out of 5 states, Idaho allowed women to vote long before the 19th Amendment was passed.
Hell yeah.
Abigail Scott Dunaway was the first woman registered to vote in Idaho.
Love it.
I have a lot of Idaho facts, actually. The world's first aircraft was in Idaho. Nope. The world's first chairlift was in Idaho.
Those are so different.
I know. I don't know where that came from. But so the world's first chairlift was in Idaho. And that chairlift was at the first ski resort in the U.S.
Oh, wow.
Idaho drinks more wine per person than any other state in the country.
Interesting.
Yes.
So maybe we don't need to go to California. We just need to go to Idaho.
Just need to stay in Idaho. D.C., though not a state, is a close second with wine
That
per
checks.
person. Idaho also has more OSHA safety violations per capita than any other state.
That's hilarious.
Yes, it is.
Have you ever seen those tweets with like, there was one tweet where it was like, someone was like, you know, where was the time when men used to do these things? And it was like the men sitting on the skyscraper.
Oh, God.
And the person quote tweeted it and goes, OSHA.
Yeah.
Like,
A canyon deeper than the Grand Canyon exists here and has the name Hell's Canyon. It is 7,900 feet deep, and above this is the Heaven's Gate Lookout, where you can see Idaho, obviously, Washington, Montana, and Oregon all at the same time.
This is going to sound like a stupid question. Is this where Heaven's Gate?
No.
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 No. Okay.
They were Arizona? No, California.
So there's just a place called Heaven's Gate.
Yes.
And you can see a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Got it.
Hold on, I need to look it up now. Headquarters was New Mexico,
Ooh.
and then I think where everything happened was San Diego.
Got it.
Also, Idaho is known for its many ghost towns.
Yes, I saw a lot of that.
In 1914, there were really no regulations on what could be mailed. There was a 50-pound weight limit. So we've talked about things like this happening before. So May Purstroff was 6 years old in 1914 and weighed only 48.5 pounds. Her parents wanted her to go see her grandparents, so instead of paying for a train ticket, what did they do? They paid 53 cents in stamps and mailed her to her grandparents' house.
Did they put her in a box?
I
Or
don't
did they
know.
just stick a bunch of...
Maybe just stickers. She traveled from Grainville to Lewiston, which is about an hour trip by modern car, in a train's mail car and was delivered right to her grandma. Of course, after that incident, new regulations were put into place.
It only takes one person.
It really does. So that famous video of a Sasquatch in 2016, it's like when it's walking through a field, was taken by a drone in a field near the Hawkins Reservoir in southeast Idaho. Unfortunately, it was a hoax.
No.
The movie Napoleon Dynamite is set in Idaho. There's a weird urban legend about Idaho itself. So apparently there's an urban legend / conspiracy theory that Idaho was only put on the map because cartographers needed a barrier that would separate Utah from Canada and Montana from Washington. I don't know. I don't know.
Why did you need to separate Montana from Washington?
Maybe that's how they try to explain that little...
If anyone
be
who
part.
lives in Montana or even Idaho or Washington, can you tell me how long it takes you to get from one side of the really skinny part up at the top to the other?
What, like in Idaho?
Yeah, this part right here.
Oh, yeah, all the way down to the bottom.
No, like just from here to here.
Oh.
I just want to know how far that is.
Another legend is one from Owyhee County of the Great White Stallion and its whole herd of phantom horses.
Oh, see? Wow. There's another one too. It was one I was going to talk about, but then...
Really? Whenever a farmer or a cowboy is in danger, this herd will appear from rifts in the clouds and will lead those lost in the wilderness to safety.
Heard that one.
That is so cool. In his final years, Ernest Hemingway called Idaho home, and Lillian Marie Disney, wife of Walt Disney, was from Idaho.
Huh.
So there are some fun facts about Idaho.
Something I always realize when I'm doing these, like this research, and it talks about how like this person will go to this state. And I'm like, how?
What do you mean?
Because I know what states border us, and I know the distance that it takes us to get from, from here to Maryland or, to the states around us.
Mm-hmm.
But anything that's on the other side of the country or pretty much anywhere else, I have no geographical concept of how close or far they actually are from each other.
Yeah.
And I don't know what other states border each other. You could give me a map of the United States and I could tell you what.
Yeah, I could tell you where what all the states are.
Right. But if you wanted me to say, well, what states border Idaho? I probably could have told you Washington and Oregon and Montana, but I would not have said Nevada.
But from memory? Or if you're looking at a map?
From memory. If I was looking at a map, obviously.
Because there's this fun game called Statal. So it's like Wordle. And it shows you a state, and you have to say the name of the state, all states that border it, the state capital, figure out the state flag, and then answer a couple other questions. It's really fun.
I could probably do the state flag now.
Oh, I'm so good at the state flag.
I've looked all of them up.
And also, a lot of the states say their name on the flag.
Yeah.
So that makes it really easy.
When I first stumbled upon a flag that did that, I had to double check that was correct.
The right flag.
The right flag. And then I'm like, oh, wow, a lot of flags do this.
Yeah. It's a weird thing.
But yeah. You ready?
I am ready. Mackenzie, tell us what you're talking about.
Okay. So I won't bore you with the details of how I ended up with the stories that I bring you today. Just know that it was a wild adventure of excitement and disappointment. Then I found a true gem of a mystery.
Oh, God.
Haha. Get it?
Uh-huh.
Because it's the gems.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I decided to take a dive into a disappearance. So I'm going to give it a try and try to impress you, Lauren.
Thank you.
Hopefully you guys do. Lauren, because I know this is your thing.
Yes, it is.
I'm going to try to impress you with my reporting and theories of 2 good old-fashioned disappearances.
That reminds me of 2, count them, 2 marshmallows.
2, count them, 2 disappearances.
It's surprising how much our generation quotes SpongeBob.
Oh my God, you have no idea. And what's even more sad is when you quote it in front of a bunch of children and not a single one of them get it.
Oh. We
truly.
quote it at work, honestly, so much, and it makes me laugh each time. Are you all situated?
I like to have the microphone in front of me as I'm reading, because if I have it from the side, I'm afraid that because I'm not talking directly into it, it's not going to sound right.
Right.
So I like to put it in front of me.
The issue last week when you were super sassy. Y'all don't understand how sassy that was. Does it even matter? Yes, it does. That's why our audio was so bad last week for the first 8 minutes.
It wasn't that sassy. All I said was, does it even matter?
In a little sassy voice, does it even matter? Yes, it does.
Anyway.
So if you listen, thanks for bearing with us until we figured that out.
I'm going to call them Ahi.
Okay. I don't know what the word is.
It's the mountains, the ones that you mentioned.
Oh, I don't know.
Awahi or Ahi?
Ahi sounds better.
Awahi. Somewhere it said it also was named after Hawaii, but I'm like, that doesn't make any sense.
Awahi. Hawaii. Awahi.
Right. No, I get that part, but I don't think that that's true. I think it was named from the Native Americans that used to live there.
Probably.
And I don't think they knew about Hawaii. So that's why I'm like, I don't think that's true.
Yeah,
I get that they sound the same, but I don't think that makes it a fact. So anyway, and it wasn't said on Wikipedia about the mountains, so I don't think it's true.
Yeah.
Whatever. The Awahi Mountains border Idaho, Oregon, and Nevada, which is why I'm like, I didn't realize Nevada touched Idaho. Crazy. So it also, like Lauren said, is filled with its fair share of urban legends, like cannibalistic dwarves, for example, or our story, The Ghost Ranch. This was the name given to the former cabin of Sally and Richard Dick Thomas. I won't start on my grievances about getting Dick from Richard.
I don't understand.
Stupid. Sally and Dick. I say his name a lot because I'm like, I'm going to fucking say Dick.
You do, you Mackenzie.
Sally and Dick built their cabin home in Sinker Creek in the late 1800s.
Sinker? Hardly know her.
What?
Nothing, go on.
Okay. The exact date is unknown. They're about 10 miles from Silver City, and the closest neighbor was about a mile away. They had a small ranch with horses, cows, crops, and some small orchids. While they certainly lived out of the way, Sally and Dick were still active members of their community. They would attend social functions in town and even saved the life of a young boy. In October of 1983, W.S. Williams and brothers John and Thomas Jones went out to Sinker Creek to go hunting. When the boy spotted a deer, William went to run after it, and Johnny shot his gun at the deer, and the bullet hit Williams in the neck and exited out his ear.
Oh.
What was hilarious, which is why I love looking at these old articles, because they give no fucks. And it started off with, like, apparently these boys just forgot everything they knew from growing up and going hunting, because for whatever reason, when the guy ran in front of him, the other one shot.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a good point. So Tommy, so the other one, ran down to a cabin nearby, but no one was home. Johnny, the one who shot the guy, had gone the other way to Thomas's ranch. There he ran into Dick and Sally, who took the boys in and tended to Williams's wounds. I hate when things end in an S and then you have to make it a possessive.
Yeah.
Williams's is. So Dick began the journey to Silver City to get help as Sally cared for the boy. Meanwhile, Tommy had made his way back to the scene of the accident, only to find his companions were gone. According to the newspaper report, he was wandering alone all night without a coat.
Oh, there were 3 of them.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, sorry. Okay. There's Johnny and Tommy.
Okay.
Tommy went one way, Johnny went the other.
Right, okay.
I was confused about that too. I had to read the article a couple times to get what it meant.
Okay.
So he was wandering around all night, no coat, and it was storming. But thankfully, he made it back to Silver City the next morning. And Dick had also made it to Silver City as well and returned with a doctor who got Williams back to the city. And it was reported that Williams would recover thanks to the help of Dick and Sally.
Wow, what random people who were just so nice. Like, let me go into town, bring a doctor back for you. Let me take care of you.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Wild. In April of 1896, some friends went to see Sally and Dick at their cabin home. When they arrived, they found one of the dogs dead in the front yard, and another one looked to be starving to death.
Oh, no.
The livestock on the ranch also looked underfed, and the cows hadn't been milked for a while. The door to the cabin was closed, but not locked. When they went into the home, they found no obvious signs of a struggle or foul play. So there looked to be a meal prepared and on the table.
Mm-hmm.
One of Dick's best suits was missing, but Sally's dresses were all found in the cabin. They found Dick's empty wallet and hunting knife on a chair. None of the horses or saddles were missing, so searchers thought that the couple would be close by. Sadly, there were no sign of Dick and Sally, and it was as if the couple had just disappeared off the face of the earth. Bizarre events continued to unfold, and in August of that same year, Sally's sister was living in the cabin and was hanging laundry when a rock flew out of the bushes and struck her in the head.
Oh.
She was knocked unconscious, and when she was found, she had a large gash on her head. Despite these odd events, it only added more questions instead of providing clarity. In spring of 1998, the amount of times I wrote 1989, I had to go back. In the spring of 1898, a sheep herder, I wanted to say shepherd, but it's not. It's a sheep herder.
Oh.
Reported finding a skull east of the cabin. Hoping to collect the award, the sheep herder, reported it to the sheriff. After some convincing, the sheep herder finally showed the sheriff where he found the skull. It was among charred bone, cloth, and buttons near a shallow grave. The sheriff realized that the herder couldn't be telling the truth because the grave belonged to an old Native American tribe. Supposedly, the sheriff had already dug up the grave, which is how he knew that it was a Native American burial site.
Okay.
I don't know. Regardless, the skull was taken into town to be analyzed, and supposedly it did belong to a woman who had died 3 or 4 years earlier. By 1905, Dick was ruled deceased by the courts, and his remaining estate was put up for auction. Nothing on Sally, because women don't have rights.
Right. Mm-hmm.
The cabin and surrounding land have changed hands over the years. In 1962, a flash flood had destroyed the original cabin, leaving behind only bits and pieces of the lives of Sally and Dick Thomas. The cabin is currently private property owned by Joyce Livestock Company and is supposedly the oldest business in Idaho.
For a second, you said Joyce Livestock, and before you said company, my brain just went to, what a last name.
I also thought that same thing until I saw company. So there you go. So, what happened? Well, this is a hard mystery to unravel given that it is over 120 years old. 127, I did the math just in case you gave me a look of like, was that right?
I wasn't going to give you a look.
Well, I put it in there just in case.
It happened in 1898.
1890 or 1896.
Oh, okay.
I calculated it. I took 2023 minus. The main consensus at the time was that one of them had murdered the other. Apparently, the Thomases' relationship was troublesome. They were known to argue and fight and had even separated a few times. Sally didn't have the best reputation in town. She was supposedly a woman of the town before she married Dick, though. So I was like, okay, so how's that bad? Because she did it before she got married.
Well, because anything that women did that was promiscuous.
I know.
Don't show your ankles. Don't show your knees.
One report I found said that Sally wanted Dick dead.
No.
Sally was planning Dick's murder and had asked her brother-in-law if she could use his gun to kill Dick.
Okay.
I only found this in one place. Not sure why she wasn't able to or if she was able to attain said gun.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't say anything else.
Okay.
This report also claimed that a short time after the skull was found, that the ghost of Sally Thomas was sighted.
Of course.
Supposedly, you can hear her on dark and stormy nights, and some have said that she's helped passing travelers.
Oh.
But like I said, one place.
Right.
A couple of reports said it was rumored that at one point, Dick refused to eat anything that Sally made after she had bought strychnine to poison squirrels. One newspaper from the time speculated that both of them had a considerable amount of money, so maybe that was the possible motive. Maybe Dick had killed Sally and ran away. In 1896, Dick had supposedly been spotted in South Africa, which I'm like, how the fuck do you get a report from there?
Yeah. Like, okay.
But it was never
corroborated.
I 100% included that word in there on purpose. So, did the couple disappear because of greed, or maybe it was something that can't be explained that happened in the woods that spring day? Unfortunately, unless time travel is invented, I don't think we'll ever know what happened to Sally and Dick Thomas.
Jeez, it's the weirdest thing when it's like there's a disappearance where there's like food on the table and things are left just completely normal.
So, what are your theories? How am I doing so far?
Good. Yeah, I like it. I like how you included the woods because, you know, I love a good wood disappearance.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Neither do I. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah,
No.
it's just really the weirdest.
And the other thing, too, is I'm like, well, clearly they were gone for a while.
Yeah.
Before it was even realized that they were gone.
Right, because all of their animals were not doing okay.
Right. So I'm wondering if, you know, especially because it's April, it's Idaho, could something have happened over the winter where they got stuck and couldn't make it back home?
But they just had food on the table still, though.
Oh, that's true.
Was it like super rotted? Didn't you say it looked like it had just been like put down on the table?
Yeah, I think the newspaper said that it looked like dinner had been made recently.
Right.
But not eaten.
So I don't think it would have been something over the winter because then the food
Unless
would have been
someone
rotted.
unless someone, I thought of like, well, was someone squatting there? Because if the animals look sickly.
Right. Oh, right.
They're there.
Right.
That's why.
Huh.
Yeah.
Does it say how many plates were made?
No.
Interesting.
I don't know.
It's like the place I covered in Hora Verde or whatever. Yeah.
There's poof gone.
Yeah.
Okay, so Sally and Dick were a warm-up case to really get the gears turning.
Oh, yes.
The story of Jeramy Burt has the appearance of a typical unsolved mystery, but I have a plot twist that I do not believe has been included in a story on this podcast thus far. And I know that is a bold statement for someone who can't remember what they had for dinner on Monday, but I am pretty confident this is the first.
Okay. All right. Let's hear.
Really excited for this one. Okay.
Mackenzie has told me, I think, a minimum of at least 5 times how excited she is for this case. So you better not disappoint.
I don't think I'm going to. I'm kind of confident about this one. Okay. So Jeramy grew up in your typical American family. He was diagnosed with ADHD at a young age, which kept him active in after-school activities. He played football and ran track when he was in high school, and when he graduated, he joined the U.S. Navy and served in the Gulf War from 1993 to 1999.
Oh, so we're like kind of recent.
Oh, yeah. I originally had this plan to do this whole like timeline thing because I found this other case and it was like, ooh, this murderer is missing. He's on the run. But then he got found. And I was like, well, fuck, that doesn't count.
That doesn't make it as fun anymore.
So I didn't include his. He traveled across the globe to the Persian Gulf, Australia, and Japan. While he was in Japan, he met a woman named Rena, and the two were married shortly after they met and divorced almost just as quickly.
Okay.
The marriage was not recognized in Japan, so Rena returned home after their split. However, the divorce was recognized in the U.S. I don't understand.
That's weird.
And in order for Jeramy to marry his new love, Kim George, he needed a divorce from Rena.
Right.
So this is how the couple met divorce attorney Janine Braun. After Jeramy was able to finalize his divorce, he married Kim in 2002, and they had their daughter, Mackenzie.
Oh.
Later that same year.
Spelled the same way?
No.
Oh.
But she does have a capital K. She's just missing the C.
The C?
Yeah, M-A-C-K.
Yes, how does she spell it?
M-A-K.
That's weird. I would think more M-C-K.
Ma.
Yeah, Mackenzie.
Well, you need a vowel there.
But this one would be Mackenzie. I've seen M-C-K.
I mean, so have I, but Mackenzie.
Yeah.
But yes, once I saw that they had a daughter named Mackenzie, I said, ooh, I'm going to do this one.
Of course.
Unfortunately, Jeramy strayed from his relationship and ended up having an affair with his divorce attorney.
Oh, good.
Mm-hmm. This, of course, caused Kim and Jeramy to split.
No.
But they did remain friends and were able to co-parent Mackenzie peacefully.
Did they get a divorce?
Yeah.
Did he use that divorce attorney?
Yeah.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I feel like that's a conflict of interest.
Yeah. It gets even better.
Oh God.
Jeramy's mom told Dateline, quote, I admire the fact that he made things right with his ex-wife. Apparently they had a very cordial, good relationship.
Oh, okay.
So the relationship between Jeramy and Janine didn't last long. Nothing ruins the mood like testifying against someone in court. Janine was being convicted of forgery.
And that's the divorce attorney.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Destruction or concealment of evidence and intimidating a witness.
Wow.
Jeramy had tape recorded a conversation between him and Janine about the illegal activity that she was involved in, and he also testified against her in 2004.
Damn.
Which ultimately led to her conviction. And Janine was disbarred and was sentenced to a year in jail with 14 years of probation.
Damn.
While Janine was in jail, things with Jeramy and Kim's relationship began to rekindle. Jeramy was living with his father, and he shared custody of Mackenzie with Kim.
Oh, that's so weird. There's a Kim.
I know. I thought about that too.
Jeremy starts with a J.
Yeah, shut up. Jeramy and Kim decided to give the relationship another try. Some reports also said that Kim had joined Jeramy at his father's house, but I'm not 100% sure if that's true.
Right.
But I do know that they were like working on getting back together.
Mm.
In early February of 2007, Jeramy took his daughter to visit his mother in American Falls, so his parents divorced.
Okay.
For the weekend. After the trip, Jeramy returned home from his father's house. Kim was out of town for a work trip, but said that she talked to Jeramy on the night of February 11th.
Okay.
His mom said she had called him to make sure he got home okay, and he said that he was on the phone with Kim.
February 11th is my meme's birthday.
Oh. Jeramy left his father's house at around 10 or 10:30, telling his dad that he was going to visit a friend to talk about a hunting trip and asked if he could check in on Mackenzie.
So Mackenzie's at the house?
Yes.
Yes.
That was the last time anyone saw or heard of Jeramy ever again.
What?
That same night, Kim had received a text message from Jeramy that he was going to disappear and start a new life.
Okay.
She tried calling him, but he wouldn't answer. Those that knew him said that it was very out of character for him to text something like that, and he would never leave his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
When Kim returned from her trip, she noticed that her 2003 Mercury Cougar was missing. She filed a stolen car report, but the content of the text messages made it difficult for her to file a missing persons report. Police reported charges on Jeramy's credit card 45 minutes away in Mountain Home, and a call from Jeramy's phone to a payphone in that same area.
Because there were cell phones at that time.
Yeah, it's 2007.
Right.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
Yeah. There are differing reports about how long the phone call took place. Some say it was only a few minutes. One said it was 20.
Mm-hmm.
Since most of the reports said it was only a few minutes, that's what I'm going to go with.
Okay.
A few months later, in May of 2007, police had discovered Kim's missing car burned up in the Auhi. How did I say I'm going to do this?
Auhi.
Auhi.
Okay.
In the Auhi Desert. Police searched the area and the car for evidence, but no evidence turned up to indicate where Jeramy was or who burned the car. Former Boise police detective Jeff Wodariki told reporters the reason for concealment of the car depends on what your theory is in regard to Jeramy's disappearance. Saying, quote, if you have the theory that something happened to Jeramy, then I would say, yeah, it was probably burned to conceal evidence. I don't see another reason to burn it. It was way in the middle of nowhere. If he was just trying to get away, he just dumped the car and you do your thing. So to me, it concerns me that something happened to him and somebody did something to get rid of the evidence in the car.
Okay.
So
I could track. Yeah.
Timeline. Okay. Snoopster on websleuths.com. Oh my God, the holes that I went down. It was so much fun. Okay. February 11th, 2007, 10:30 p.m., last seen at his house, ID'd by his father. He said he was headed out to a buddy's place, which most of the reports never mention what this friend's name was, except for this one. Apparently, his name was Greg Reno.
Okay.
But I didn't see it anywhere else.
Interesting.
Like, no one even said, like, oh yeah, the friend called being like, where is he? Like, nothing like that.
Right.
His father said that Jeramy looked dressed nice enough to go to a party.
Okay.
So one of the reports I read said that, like, he looked freshly showered, like clean shirt, all that kind of good stuff.
How you would if you're going to a party, yeah.
Right. But he supposedly wasn't. He was just going to go talk to a friend about going hunting.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So it was odd. It's a little odd that he was put together. Also at 10:30 p.m., oh, no, not at 10:30 p.m., but shortly after 10:30, an ATM transaction in Boise had occurred. Sorry, I'm trying to, like, read someone else's writing. At midnight, a debit transaction at a Chevron station in Mountain House, about 40 miles or 30-minute drive from his home.
Okay.
On February 12th, and I did not see this anywhere else but here, Greg Reno receives a call from his phone in the early hours of the night.
From
Jeramy's phone. Jeramy's common-law ex receives a text message from Jeramy during the day and checks them after her training that she was in when she was in Las Vegas, like in Nevada, for the work trip. Numerous calls from JB's cell that last less than a minute, indicating calls followed by hangups. On the 13th,
Joe's birthday.
Yeah. His ex receives a text from JB's phone that he plans to start a new life and disappear. A call from his phone to the payphone only lasted 6 or 7 minutes.
It's still like kind of a long call.
Yeah. The last activity on his cell phone was on February 14th. On February 17th, Kim gets home from Las Vegas, notices her car is missing, files a missing person, and auto theft report.
Okay, so all this happened within like a 6-day frame.
Exactly.
Time. Okay.
Yep. On May 18th, the car is found and abandoned in a remote desert area, like 45 miles from the Nevada state line and 100 miles south of Boise.
Wow.
Yeah. So, lead detective on the case, Josiah Ransom, I hope to God, pun intended, told Dateline in 2018, quote, just given the way that he disappeared, he has a daughter and there hasn't been any contact since 2007. He was described as a family man. That and other things related to this makes me believe that there is foul play involved. Shirley Burt, Jeramy's mother, declared him legally dead on October 1st, 2018. She told reporters, quote, he didn't deserve any of this. I never would have thought I would be looking at this many years. I pray to him all the time. I wish he'd send me some signs as to where he's at.
Aw.
Sadly, in 2016, Jeramy's ex-wife and Mackenzie's mother committed suicide.
Oh.
Didn't say why. Kim had gotten remarried after Jeramy's disappearance, and one report I read said she also had another daughter but I don't know.
Okay.
It's a little unclear. But I feel like it's true because, well, I'll get to that. Mackenzie was 3 when her father went missing, and she would have been 13, 14 when her mom committed suicide.
Wow.
So as of 2018, she was living with her stepfather, which is why I'm like, okay, well, if she has a half-sister, and if she was like 3 and like really young when her mom got remarried, she probably looks at him as her dad.
Right.
Probably doesn't remember much about hers, unfortunately.
Right.
And her grandfather had told NBC that she was doing extremely well in school. Theories. Mom thinks foul play. She thinks that because he burned the lawyer, testified against her, maybe she got revenge or some shady shit went down.
Oh, okay.
Reddit. I so wish I had gotten on this site sooner.
I love Reddit.
So this user, Maddie Kate, did a wonderful job. I'm just going to kind of jump to the part that she mentions is a little bit different.
Okay.
So she talks about how she goes in depth about this case on another post she had made. I didn't go to the post because I'm like, I have enough. So I'll figure it out. So she says, what does TLDR mean again?
Too long, didn't read.
Thank you. Ahren, disappeared on December 4th, 2004, after saying that he was going to meet an out-of-town friend for dinner. He was never seen again. Why do I bring Ahren up? For one, he testified against Janine Braun during her 2004 trial. I could not find it anywhere else, so I don't know.
Okay.
About a year prior, Ahren had been dating a woman named Constance Norris Malman, a lawyer.
What a name.
Mm-hmm. A lawyer about 20 years his senior, who's Constance's best friend, Janine Braun. Constance is also known to have a bit of a shady track record as a lawyer as well and does not seem to practice anymore. In 2003, Ahren, Constance, Jeramy, and Janine attended a wedding together for a mutual acquaintance. It is not known how deep Ahren and Jeramy's relationship goes or if their disappearance are even connected. So, some background on Ahren Bernard.
Okay.
Ahren was 35 years old and worked as a DJ at some dance clubs, strip clubs, and helped out a Vista pawn shop in the Boise Bench neighborhood. Over the years, he had various businesses. At one point, he was a gun dealer, and he also owned a motorcycle shop at one point.
What a resume.
Oh, yeah. He's all over the place. He had 2 young children, and he was last seen dropping his 3-year-old son off with his mother on December 6th, 2004. He had plans to see him the next morning, but never arrived. His last phone call was 7:15 p.m. to his friend Yvette, and according to Yvette, Ahren said that he was on his way home and he was getting a call from his roommate, Tyler Dean. It's not clear what Dean and Ahren talked about, but according to Ahren's mom, Vicky, Dean had taken some of Ahren's furniture when he went missing, and supposedly Dean had posted a message on his MySpace page
MySpace
that said, quote, "Remember, a good friend will help you move. A really good friend will help you move a body. Let me know if you ever need me to bring a shovel."
I mean,
we've said that.
Right. That's why I'm like, that's not that weird. Like, there was a whole time when that was like a big thing you would say about your best friends. Right.
I say that now.
Right, exactly. So I don't find that very weird.
Right. His car was found in his driveway when police checked his apartment, they saw no signs of foul play. His mother said that the day before he went missing, he was thinking of getting his chauffeur's license and buying a limo. He also had an outstanding warrant for his arrest for battery in Ada County, Idaho, but police are not sure if that had anything to do with the disappearance.
Okay.
The Charlie Project reported that prior to him going missing, Ahren was in a custody battle for his son and had a falling out with his business partner. Who was his business partner? Well, according to records, he shared his motorcycle business with Constance Norris. A YouTube video from Into the Dark Northwest, who are a local investigation group, they went to her home, and Norris had told the group that she was not familiar with Ahren when they questioned her at her home. And when the Idaho press visited her, she said that she would not talk about Ahren and she didn't know Jeramy.
So Ahren, the person who's supposedly her business partner and lover.
Yeah, because then his mom goes on to tell reporters, Norris was in his house sleeping in his bed when I was there on Christmas. She knows him. She was in business with him.
Right.
Yeah. So back to Reddit.
I don't know why people lie about things like that. It's like these things are so easy to verify.
I know. So Maddie Kate person, we're going back to her post. The things I told you about Ahren was me.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. We kind of go back and forth, but I'll try to remember to tell you when it's me versus not me.
Okay.
So she put as part of her post, like, where are they now? So some of it's going to be information we've heard. But just about 3 months after Jeramy disappeared, Kim married a man named Jeff Shaw. While Kim is not believed to be involved in his disappearance, the rapid pace of the marriage has always raised some eyebrows.
Okay.
Together, they had a daughter, Elena. Sadly, Kim died in suicide in 2016 at the age of 41.
Wait, another Kim?
No, same Kim.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, same.
Right,
yep.
right. Yep.
She's survived by her current husband, Jeff, and their daughters, and Mackenzie will be turning 18 at some point this year. This post was 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Ahren Bernard is still missing. His mother, Vicky Bernard, and his now adult daughter, Genevieve, continue to search for answers. So, back to me. When the Charlie Project investigated both cases, they interviewed Janine, who had gotten off probation early and was currently living in Utah as Janine Hughes. She told them that she hadn't talked to Jeramy in the months before he went missing. Back to Reddit. Now, let's talk about Janine. At the time, Janine had remarried to a lawyer several years older than her and was living in St. George, Utah. She took on the name Janine Harris, which I think she meant Janine Hughes. The rumor mill has always been churning about this woman. She has a reputation for being a black widow and is rumored to have affairs with multiple married men, which she did, and is rumored to continue to get with older lawyers to cover for her. This St. George lawyer, She was married to, filed for divorce from her around 2015-16-ish. Sadly, this Laura passed away last month from COVID, and his family left her completely off his obituary and no word of if he knew anything about Jeramy's case.
Damn.
So, back to me. According, like this Maddie Kate person said, according to the mother of both men, and this is I saw in an actual news article, they said that the two lawyers attended a wedding together with Ahren and Jeramy as their dates in the early 2000s.
Right.
Jeramy's mother thinks that a man in Utah may have assisted Janine. Not that that is the man that she was currently married to, but that this man allegedly dated or knew Janine for a short period of time. He was interviewed by police, but never charged.
Mm-hmm.
Something also to note about this mountain home area that we keep referring to. Apparently, according to Reddit users that I'm assuming are from Ohio.
Did you say Ohio?
Yes, I did. Idaho.
Yeah, because I finished drinking my water and I was like, wait, that was wrong.
Yeah. It's apparently a very rough area, a shit ton of meth, heavy crime in general. It's in the middle of the desert and nothing really going for it.
A shit ton of meth.
I'm just quoting what she said or he said or they said. Sorry. Its main draws are 1, its primary truck stop area for those traveling across the state, and 2, the Mount Home AFB is there. I don't know what that is.
Air Force Base.
Oh. So I'm going to read a couple of the comments on this post. This user, apprehensive set 244, said, Janine worked with me just recently and was let go about a week ago after the FBI and the sheriff came in. So this post was March 10th, 2021.
Oh.
Yeah. She's one of the most insane people I have ever met in my life. She doesn't know how to act normal and over-exaggerates everything. I work in sales, and whenever I made a sale, she would baby me and tell me, good job, and treat me like a child. It was really weird. She got into it pretty big with another coworker. She put her name on his sales and delivered a threatening letter to him. None of us knew about any of this, though, and it all came to light after she left.
Wow.
My coworker is now terrified that she's going to come after him since she already threatened him. We are all kind of in shock right now. 2 years ago, this person, all it said was deleted. I don't know what their username was.
Right.
But said, old thread, I know, but it's so weird to have one of these where I know one of the players in the story. Janine Elbarki, or Braun, was my sister's Sunday school teacher when I was a kid. She was friends-ish with my mom for a short period of time. My siblings are still friends with her ex-stepfamily. I was away at college when all this went down, and when I moved back home a few years later, my mom sat me down one time and was like, you're never going to believe what Janine Elbarki was wrapped up in.
And Janine is still
it's same Janine.
That divorce lawyer.
Yep.
So she's had a million different jobs and names.
Oh, yeah. And then they also went on to say, also, I wasn't aware of the Ahren Bernard case. I'm so sorry if I'm saying his name wrong. Just Jeramy, even crazier that there's a connection there. I hope some evidence comes along someday and they get justice. Allozaps commented in 2014, this case has always interested me greatly. My theory is that Jeramy went to see Janine on the night of February 11th and she had killed him, likely with the help of an accomplice or hitman. Then she took his phone and the accomplice took the car away to dispose of it. During this time, she sent the text and made the ghost calls to Kim when she was in Vegas. At some point, the accomplice called her via the payphone in Mountain Home to sync up with her on the plan to get rid of the car. I suspect the accomplice drove west from Mountain Home after filling up to the bureau to dump and burn the car, and they made arrangements to get him out of there. Remember that Jeramy's dad said that he was seeing Janine right up until the time he disappeared. I did not see that anywhere else but on this post.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't see that anywhere, but a lot of the Reddit people were speculating that, he was in contact with her when she got out of jail.
Mm-hmm.
Everything I've seen indicates that she was very attractive and charming, and I can see why this would put guys like Jeramy under her spell. This Janine woman is suspicious as hell. Her being in prison for forgery notwithstanding, think about it this way. If a man you've been dating/seeing secretly records you, testifies against you, and has you put behind bars, what do you do if you're an unstable, controlling person with no regard for law or human life? You kill them or put a hit on them. I think she loved Jeramy and was maybe even obsessed with him. So when he helped put her away, she felt so betrayed that unleashed her inner psycho and he became a dead man walking. So what are you thinking?
Damn. I do kind of like the theory where, not like, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where her and someone else killed him when he came to her house and then had the whole plan where the phone calls and the guy driving out to the desert and arranging the meetup and getting him back. Yeah. That one sounds very plausible.
One of the people commented on there, like, yeah, you would just text someone, I'm going to disappear and not come back.
Right.
Like that's, why would you do that?
Right. That's just weird. Did anyone ever like track his phone?
Yeah, that was part of the last time they could find it. It was in that mountain home area.
Oh, okay.
And they haven't been able to, nothing's popped up since, no credit card activity, hasn't been in contact with anybody, nothing.
What the heck?
Yeah. So I leave you with this final possibility.
Okay.
You should have seen my face when I found this.
Oh my God, okay.
In my exploration to find some good theories, I found this one post on Reddit that claimed that both bodies had been found.
Both bodies as in?
Ahren and Jeramy. I clicked on the post, which led me to a YouTube video. The YouTube video said it was explicit content. I, of course, clicked through anyway, and it was a 40-second video of an image.
Okay.
The image had writing covering a piece of paper in black marker and looked like random words and numbers. There was an image of a map of Shoshone Park, and the caption said, quote, missing man Jeramy Burt remains are at this exact location. Ahren Bernard remains are in the same buried in a wooden box. The killer is reading this right now. Please turn yourself in. This park is in Boise, Idaho. I was also as confused as you are right now.
Right. If you can't see my face, it's the like eyebrows.
I literally typed in there. I also was confused. Because I was like, no one's going to get this.
Okay.
Then I saw the website that this came from. brianspredictions.com. So I was like, oh, okay, let me go here.
Uh-huh.
This is the website of Brian Ladd. Schizophrenic psychic dreamer since 2005.
Okay.
The bio reads, and I quote, psychic Brian Ladd has been predicting world events using dreams successfully since 2005. To date, there are over 30,000 posted/documented dream drawings on his website. There is. And more than 1,300 open missing person cases. Brian has helped locate hundreds of missing persons and continues to devote much of his free time to doing so. Brian has also made some of his clients rich with his lottery and stocks predictions, including countless strangers with his public lottery and stock dream. Brian served 12 active years in the U.S. Army and joined the Army Reserves and was diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder in 2011. Some say having schizophrenia helps Brian connect to the universal time-space consciousness, and with some training, we can all do this. No matter how so many dreams have come true, they have changed the lives of thousands of people like you. There are over 1,000 dream confirmations on my site. To see a short list of them, visit brianladd.org/correct. So, the site specifically for the post with the picture and things like that was brianspredictions.com/Jeramy-Burt-found. But the page supposedly has explicit content, so you have to be a member to access it.
Oh.
So I did not do that.
No.
But according to an article from March of 2022, no bodies, no new evidence has been found.
Did they go to like this location that he talked about?
I have no clue. If anyone besides me and Reddit know that this man made this prediction. I wrote that in there because I'm like, I don't know. So,
did you look at like his other predictions and stuff?
So it's what I'm going to pull up and I'm going to show you what it looks like.
Yes.
Because I tried to read it and I can't. So it has like the writing all over the place. You can see where it says wooden.
It says bipolar in there too.
That's what okay, so I saw that too. There's a part that's obviously blocked out.
Yeah.
And then there's that map.
Oh, I see why you didn't know how to pronounce Ahren. It's like Ahren.
Yeah, see, right? Thank you. Not stupid. We will obviously post a picture of this when this episode comes out so you can see what we're talking about.
Oh, ADHD is written there.
Uh-huh.
And so when did he write this? Like, when did this?
I think 2019, 21. It was, no, it says it right there on the side.
Oh.
January 17th, 2021, Dream by Psychic Brian Ladd.
Well, then he could have already heard about this case, you know?
100%.
And just, like, it would be one thing if he had this weird dream and he wrote it down. And this happened in, like, 1990 or something.
Right.
And then everything is happening in the 2000s.
Correct.
The aughts, if you will.
Yes.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
That's weird. Like, all of these things, kind of the weird words that are in there, you mentioned throughout your case, you know? So things you could easily find.
And there was a whole podcast episode done on this case.
Yeah, so
I didn't listen to it, but that's people on Reddit kept like referring to it.
Right, so it's very easy something you can find.
Yeah.
Like, I'm curious with all of his other things how the dates, like, correspond. Like, if he came up with a prediction a while ago and drew this and documented it, and then something happens that you can connect to it, okay, cool. But if something happens and then years later he draws something, it's like,
Yeah.
You know, it loses a little bit of its credibility.
There was so much. I was like, I can't even begin to try to look through this.
Right.
To try to figure out the validity.
Maybe that's what he's hoping. Like, no one's going to spend the time.
It's like overwhelming how much there's on there.
I bet you, though, there is someone working on it because there's always people
for sure.
doing like the most wild things.
For sure. But like some of these things you can't read, and I've been trying to figure out what they are.
Mm-hmm.
So like you can read killer is read this.
Right.
And then you can read wood box.
Mm-hmm. And then the little picture I assume is of a wood box.
Yeah. And it says turn your. And then there's 4161 circled. And then what looks to be like tomato, but two and mato. And then something about bipolar.
Yeah. And ADHD was in there. And
ADHD,
like some words aren't finished.
Right. ADHD was, I do know, obviously Jeramy was.
Right.
But bipolar, unless Ahren was, and I just didn't see it in the articles that I had looked at.
Right.
I didn't see bipolar anywhere for anybody.
Yeah.
So,
I
don't know.
Well, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like if this guy is connecting it to this case, he should call the police and be like, yo, here's my situation. Check out my website. Maybe just go look at the park.
Yeah.
But then he would probably be considered a witness. Because that's the thing with like a lot of like these psychic cases and stuff. They'll be like, oh, I have information about this person. Like, this is where they're buried. And if they are, then it's like, how did you know they're buried here?
Yeah. Because, you know, I'm the first to defend some.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stuff.
Absolutely.
I just think it gets to a point where I'm like, okay, this is a bit much.
Yeah.
Like, now you're starting to lose me a little bit.
So what do you think happened? Did you already say what you thought
I could definitely see how the cases were related. This one...
oh, absolutely. There's just so much intertwined.
Yeah. And even this one news article, like, wrote about the possible connections.
Mm-hmm.
Police don't believe there is a connection. Really, the only connection is between the two lawyers.
Right.
I definitely think something happened to them.
Well, yeah.
Definitely think that they were killed in some capacity. By who? The lawyer for Jeramy seems the most plausible.
Yeah.
This article also talked about like possible hitmen because of all the businesses that Ahren owned.
Mm-hmm.
Something about like an anonymous source saying that a Chicago mob person like admitted to killing him. I don't know.
Okay.
It's all maybes.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, there has been no new updates on either case as of March 2022. People with information or tips are encouraged to contact the Boise Police Department at 208-570-6000.
Wow. I love how you brought a psychic into this.
Thank you.
That was very fun.
Thank you.
I'm going to spend some time looking at his website.
You'll be on there forever.
Oh, I can easily see that happening.
It's almost like I wanted to start diving into it, but then when I realized how much there was, I got overwhelmed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just couldn't.
I've done that before. That's why my laundry is still over there.
Yeah.
I get overwhelmed quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there's this episode of The Office. I think it's The Office. He's like, you can be overwhelmed and you can be underwhelmed, but can you ever just be whelmed?
Oh, yeah. I think I've seen like tweets like that.
But wow.
Yeah. So
2 disappearances. I'm about it.
Thank you. I was like, okay, I gotta do this justice because this is her thing. So I want to make sure I do a really good job and find good theories.
Well, nicely done.
Thank you.
Nicely done.
Thank you. It's your turn.
No, I know. Every time you're like, I want to say it every time. And then I give you the cue to go say it. And you're just like, what? I'm already said my story.
What'd you talk about, Melissa? It would be much smoother if we didn't stop recording.
I'm sorry, they get to be too big of chunks and then we have to order food and then you need a snack and then Joe comes home. And there's a lot that goes on.
I need to revive myself. If I don't have my snack, I'm going to be hungry and then I get cranky and then all I'm thinking about is food and all I'm thinking about is you have to act lively and respond to her story But then I get really tired and all I think about is like, oh my God, I need this to end.
All right, tonight. Sitting at 805 West Linden Street in Boise, Idaho, is what is known as the Boise Murder House. We're both in the same place again.
When I saw what you put on the spreadsheet, I was like, murder.
That'll make sense in a little bit, everyone listening. So today, that same house sits covered in soot and dust with broken boarded up windows and trash covering the lawn. But back in the day, when it was originally built in 1910, this 2-story, 2,728 square foot house stood in the craftsman style. This house goes by a couple of names, one being the Murder House, the other being the Chop Shop House.
Oh, good.
But of course, there have to be reasons for how houses get their names.
Sure. Could you imagine?
What?
It's like a blue house. What's it called? The Purple House. Is it purple? Nope, it's blue.
We just wanted to mix it up.
Right.
So it was June 29th, 1987. 21-year-old Preston Murr had just attended a funeral in Boise.
Murder.
After the funeral, he and a few others who had also attended the funeral shared a few drinks, resulting in them all becoming intoxicated and belligerent. And as it happens with men, a fight broke out between Murr and two of the other men who had been there. Police were called and arrived at the scene, where they cited Murr and the other two with disorderly conduct. Nothing further, just a citation. But that wasn't the last run-in with police that Murr would have that day. Later that same evening, Murr was back at his sister's house, where he was staying with his girlfriend. He called police to report that someone had called him and threatened to kill him.
Oh.
Nothing came from that with regards to the call, I don't think. Like, no cops came, didn't really check up. After calling the police, Murr then called 37-year-old Daniel Rogers, an acquaintance of his. Murr was hoping that Rogers may have some knowledge over who had just threatened him, who had called him, like, what was going on? The two planned to meet up at a nearby Circle K with another buddy of theirs.
Circle K.
I know! I was like, wow. This buddy was 31-year-old Darren Cox. Cox and Dick, never mind.
Same innuendos though.
It's right there. So the trio headed to the meetup location with Rogers and Cox arriving together. Murr was already there, but he was busy talking on a payphone while holding a baseball bat. Finally off the phone, the three started discussing the call that Murr had received and were trying to think of who would have called and threatened him. But this led into another topic of discussion. Earlier, not sure if it was earlier that day, that week, that month, but earlier, guns that belonged to Rogers had been stolen. They were also trying to figure out who would have stolen his guns, and they decided to formulate a plan for how to find out who the person was and how to get the guns back.
Okay.
So after stopping back at Murr's sister's house for some reason, the three decided to head back to Rogers' house. Rogers collected the other guns he had, and the trio headed off in search of the stolen guns. He had guns, but other ones had been stolen.
Right, I know, but how do you even know where to go?
Well, Murr actually told the group that he had an idea where the guns may be hidden.
Okay.
He said he knew the apartment, which belonged to the person who had allegedly stolen Rogers' guns. So they were going to drive to this apartment, get the guns. They drove all around the area, but ultimately their mission was unsuccessful, so the trio returned back to Rogers' home at 805 West Linden Street.
Okay.
I just guess Murr wasn't able to recall what apartment it was.
Right.
They arrived back just around midnight on June 30th, 1987. And something happened where the three men started to get into an altercation. During this altercation, Preston Murr was shot in the shoulder with a .357 Magnum handgun.
That seems big.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. He somehow managed to escape the house and ran to a nearby home where he started to bang on a random door, hoping and praying that someone would answer and come to his rescue. But sadly, his prayers went unanswered, as did the door. The neighbor whose door Murr was banging on did call the police, though. And I honestly can't say I blame them. If someone comes up to my house and is banging on the door at midnight, there's no way in hell I'm answering that door. Right.
Absolutely
no
not.
way I'm answering that door.
No.
Yeah, I'll call the cops. That door is staying locked.
Yeah, sorry about it.
Yeah. So the neighbor told the Boise Police Department dispatcher that he heard a banging on the door, then someone yelling, "Let go of me," followed by a, quote, anguished yell.
Oh.
This is a bit of how the 911 call went. Dispatch. Okay, what's the problem there? Caller. I don't know. A couple of guys came by and beat on the door, and I went out and looked, and there's some blood on the door, it looks like. Dispatch. Okay, can you see them down the street at all? Caller. There looks like something is going on in the house across the street. When the neighbor was... When the neighbor was peeking out of his window, he saw Murr being chased by someone. That person eventually caught Murr and dragged him back into the basement of 805 West Linden.
Who got shot?
Murr.
I thought it was the other guy.
No, the other guy shot him. Well, no, the other guy had the gun.
Who? So Murr got shot in the shoulder.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So it's Murr, Rogers, and Cox.
Yeah.
Rogers' guns were stolen. He's the one who grabbed the gun from the house.
Okay.
Cox is just kind of there. And Murr is the one who got shot.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So he's the one who ran to the house. He's the one who banged on the door trying to get in.
Okay.
So the caller then told the dispatcher that he saw 2 men moving around the porch in the yard of 805. He then said he saw them hosing down the porch with a garden hose. Those 2 men then approached the house with a flashlight and appeared to be looking around for something. The neighbor continued to look through his blinds, hoping police would soon show up, but after much waiting and never seeing the cops, the neighbor went to bed. What he didn't know was that when Murr was taken back into the basement, he was shot in the back of the head with that .357 Magnum handgun. It was a fatal shot. Police never responded to the call from that night.
What?
Never responded. But the following morning...
Can you do that?
I don't know. I don't know. The caller's literally saying there's something going on. As a cop, you should just drive by. Just see what's going on. So the following morning, they received yet another call from that same neighbor who had called the night before. The neighbor had seen a brown sedan stopped on the street next to his house that quickly drove away. This time, the neighbor asked if the police would mind coming to his house to investigate the blood that was on his screen door. And blood wasn't just on the neighbor's door. It was found on sidewalks around the neighborhood and on at least one other neighbor's house, which shows how desperate Murr was to find someone to help him and open the door.
And they didn't fucking show up. Wow.
The police were dispatched, finally, and when they saw the amount of blood, they immediately called for backup. One source said that the blood sort of had a trail that led right to the basement of 805. The blood in the trail gave the police reason to obtain a search warrant to enter 805 West Linden Street, both where the neighbor had heard the altercation coming from and where they saw the man being dragged to. So, blood, sights, get
all
the
the
warrant.
things.
Upon obtaining the warrant, the police made their way into the house only to be greeted by a grisly scene. They found blood in the house all over, mainly in the stairwell leading down to the basement and even more in the basement. The police also found drugs and money. A bullet fragment was found inside a dryer, and a bullet hole was found in a door at the top of the basement stairs. They eventually found a handgun in the basement as well. It was found hidden in either a speaker or in a cabinet, based on what you're hearing. It was determined that the gun belonged to Rogers.
Okay. I thought his guns were missing.
Well, he had 1 or 2.
Oh.
Because remember, he went back to the house to grab his gun.
You're right.
Rogers and his wife were arrested later that day on June 30th.
And his wife?
They were charged with possession of controlled substances, because it's in her house as well.
Okay.
With intent to deliver and other drug-related crimes.
Okay.
So I can only assume it's from all the drugs that were found in the basement, and since she lives in the house, charged.
Oh, this was Roger's house.
Yeah. 805 was Rogers' house.
Oh my God. I don't know whose house I thought this was.
Just a random house.
Oh my God. And he's still there?
Yeah.
Fucking moron.
I mean, it was later that day. The murder happened at midnight on the 30th, the 29th going into the 30th. So this is all happening on the 30th.
But leave.
I know. Pack up, get your shit, and fly to Australia.
You literally have so much blood in your basement. What?
Oh
my God.
About a week later, parts of Murr's body were discovered along the banks of the Brownlee Reservoir.
Oh my.
So after shooting and killing Murr, Rogers and Cox had used an axe and knife to dismember Murr's corpse. They had cut him up into 13 pieces and wrapped those pieces in plastic bags. How the house gets the name Chop Chop.
Yeah.
From there, the 2 men, Daniel Rogers and Darren Cox, loaded the body into one of their cars, a brown Grand Prix, or a brown sedan,
right,
that belonged to Rogers' wife, and drove to the Idaho-Oregon border. This is where they dumped Murr's body, into the Brownlee Reservoir, which was about 100 miles away from Rogers' house. And as for the gloves and plastic bags that they used, well, they threw them in a dumpster behind an Idaho convenience store in Meridian. So the discovery of Murr's body led to the apprehension and arrest of Rogers and Cox, who were now charged with murder. Cox was cooperative with police and complied with them during the investigation. He provided details about the murder, led police to evidence, and placed all of the blame of the murders on Rogers.
Of course.
Saying that he only participated out of fear. Both men then went to trial for the murder of Preston Murr, but each had separate trials. So because Cox had complied with police during the investigation and had provided details about the murder, he was given a lesser sentence.
Sure.
He ended up pleading guilty to charges of being an accessory to a felony, the murder, and aggravated assault. He was sentenced to only 5 years for the accessory charge and 2 for the assault, but the sentences were to run at the same time. So not 7 years, just 5 years. He was also given credit for time served, so he was eligible for parole in 120 days after he was convicted. Because I'm not sure when the trials happened or started. I couldn't find that anywhere.
Yeah.
But it happened after, they were arrested because it said he was good for time served.
Okay.
But so overall, he only served about 5 years in prison.
Huh.
Roger's trial was actually before Cox, but is way more involved, so we'll go into that one now.
Okay.
So first off, Cox wasn't called to testify at Roger's trial as he was considered to be, quote, unavailable. But Rogers did testify during his own trial. So there was a lot of back and forth during the initial investigation, with Rogers saying he wasn't present at his home the night of the murder. He finally admitted for the first time at his trial, while he was testifying, that he was present at his home, 805 West Linden Street, at the time that Murr was killed. Rogers then went into what happened during the night of the murder. He said that, while the trio were in the basement of his home, a knife fight broke out between Murr and Cox. Rogers tried to break it up, but doing so angered Murr. Murr suddenly came at Rogers with the knife, and in self-defense, Rogers fired a warning shot at Murr. But that warning shot unintentionally hit him in the shoulder. Murr rushed at Rogers, which caused Rogers to fall and lose his gun. Then, as Murr tried to escape and flee up the stairs, it was Cox who picked up the gun and fired at Murr. Cox then chased after Murr, and when he caught up to him, he was the one to drag Murr back into the basement. Rogers claimed he was then upstairs out of the basement when he heard the fatal shot, the one that ended up killing Murr.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like upstairs, Murr's down in the basement, he gets shot in the basement. Cox ran up to Rogers after that and stated that he had killed Murr and started to talk about his plan for how he was going to dispose of the body. Rogers then testified that he could not participate in the cutting up of the body, but he did help clean and dispose of the evidence.
Not all that much, because there's still a fuck ton of blood in your house.
I know. So over a 2-week span, the jury heard from more than 50 witnesses. So remember how Rogers said that Murr had been shot outside? Well, an expert witness testified that blood spatter tests indicated that Murr was actually shot while he was fleeing up the stairs.
Oh.
So a very different story from what was told.
So not self-defense, because he was running away.
Running away. And what's also interesting is, like, people don't like blood spatter. Like, experts aren't, it's considered, like, kind of a weird thing. So while it is true and there are always, like, certain ways that blood will go places, whenever there's a blood spatter expert who comes into something, people always want to, like, fight against it. So this was, like, a very hot
topic. Yeah.
It took a jury of 6 men and 6 women only 6 hours to deliberate. They found Rogers guilty of first-degree murder. The district court agreed and imposed a fixed life sentence, which I think means that in Idaho, there's a required 15 to 20 years that need to be served before you can even be released on parole, if you are even approved for parole. The Court of Appeals affirmed the sentence, meaning that Rogers was sentenced to life in prison at the Idaho State Correctional Institution. At this hearing, Rogers petitioned the district court for post-conviction relief. So post-conviction relief is a court's order concerning the defendant's conviction, sentence, or release conditions. So the court may schedule a new court proceeding, a new sentence hearing, a new bond requirement, a new trial date, or even propose a reduced sentence if all requirements are met for this post-conviction relief. I went real deep into some legal stuff. It was really fun because I was reading the court document. And so as I'm reading the court document, they're talking about all this stuff. And I'm like, what does this mean? So Rogers was requesting a new trial. He claimed that he had newly discovered evidence that would have potentially changed his sentence, and he wanted the court to schedule a new trial date so that this evidence could be brought into consideration. The newly discovered evidence came from Rogers' former brother-in-law, Tim Howell. So fun fact, as I am doing this research, I'm on our newspaper's website having a lot of fun, searched this guy's name. It showed his wedding announcement. So it showed Dan Rogers' wedding announcement to Tim Howell's sister.
Oh, shit.
Can't remember her name. Didn't write it down.
That's crazy.
But I just was like, this is so wild. It's just, weird. It brings real things into it. Sometimes we'll talk about true crime and it's just a story you've heard before, or it's a story that has no relevance to real life. And then you read these articles and you're like, it was a real thing.
Very real.
And what we've talked about, where it will be you'll be reading an article and you'll see Ted Bundy's name listed and you'll see Jeffrey Dahmer's name listed. It's just wild. So Rogers wanted Howell to establish that police searching his home, where the killing took place, was actually illegal, and that any evidence that had been found during the search shouldn't have been admitted at trial because it was obtained illegally.
How?
Rogers said that Howell's testimony would help prove that police had entered his home in the morning, though their search warrant hadn't been issued until that afternoon. So they're not allowed to enter the house until the search warrant. So what he's trying to say is they came in the morning.
What about probable cause?
You need the search warrant, I guess,
Even
in this
if
situation.
There's blood leading up to the house?
I don't know. In this situation, they needed that search warrant. And I guess maybe if you're searching a house, you need it even if you have the probable cause. I think it is. You can have probable cause to go in somewhere, but if you want to start looking through things, I think that's when you need the search warrant.
Okay.
And so, of course, they're going to try to find evidence. So,
right.
When asked, Rogers said this was newly discovered information because Howell actually kept this information to himself for a few years.
Why?
I don't know. So it meant that Rogers didn't have this information during his initial trial.
Mhm.
He only had this information long after his conviction. And that this failure of discovery was not due to lack of diligence, but due to truly not knowing this information previously. So if it
Right.
was due to lack of diligence, that's one thing. Like,
Yeah.
you didn't cover all your bases, so that's kind of on you.
Right.
But this is saying, like, there was no way he would have known because Howell was the only person who had this information.
Mhm.
And now he's coming out with the information.
Okay.
It was known and confirmed that the cops did, in fact, get the warrant at 2 p.m. on June 30th, so yes, in the afternoon. But one witness came forward saying that they had called Rogers home on the morning of June 30th, and they were surprised when a man named Lance answered the phone. Lance being Lance Anderson, a Boise police detective. Anderson also testified and said that the call this witness was talking about wasn't received in the morning, but actually received at 4:30 p.m.
What the fuck?
after the warrant had been issued.
Oh my God.
So right there, everything already goes against Rogers trying to say the police came into his home without a warrant. But again, it's kind of like
It's
this
like
whole
he
like
said, she
I was
said.
just yes, exactly. It's a very much he said, she said. Like these warrants and Rogers are saying
This witness says that, and this person says this.
right, it happened in the morning, and then this cop detective is like, no, it happened in the afternoon, but it was in the 80s, so it's not like there's like a call log of when these calls took place.
Really?
I don't think
Not
there
even
would
in the
be.
80s?
But they never mentioned anything in call log, like anything about a call log. I'm
Yeah.
just thinking about this literally at this exact moment, so I don't really know. But now a lot was hanging on what Howell would say. His story was that he drove by Rogers' house on June 30th, which I don't know why people are just randomly calling and driving by. Like, it just seems weird.
Doesn't make no sense.
No. But so his story is that he drove by Rogers' house on June 30th and noticed that the house was blocked by police ribbon. He also saw cops walking around with 2 green garbage bags with something clearly inside of them, so the bags were being weighed down. But he never actually saw the cops enter or exit the house.
Oh.
He thought this all happened in the morning, which the appeal was based off of, but he admitted that it was possible that he made these observations in the afternoon.
Oh.
So he's already kind of not credible anymore. There was some
Jeez.
doubt on his part, some uncertainty about the timing that he drove by Rogers' house. So you're not a strong witness anymore.
No. But even if the evidence gets thrown out because of the search warrant thing,
Mm-hmm.
what about the other guy's testimony?
Which one?
The Cox guy.
Oh, like with all of the things he
Yeah.
was helping with?
Because wouldn't it just be like that
I'm not
specific
sure if it would be able to be used in Rogers' stuff
evidence?
because it's technically separate cases.
Oh, okay.
So it's not like you could bring in his stuff because he's also not being used as a witness.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you kind of have to ignore everything that Cox said if this is what we're going to go with.
Okay.
So Rogers wanted the new trial based on this newly discovered evidence. So a test was conducted to see if this newly discovered evidence was enough for a new trial. So there are 4 motions that the evidence has to meet, like 4 requirements. I'm telling you, I really...
Yeah, no, I'm here for it.
And I was like, people might find this interesting. Okay, so...
People being me.
Yeah. A motion for a new trial based on newly discovered evidence must disclose 1, that the evidence is newly discovered and was unknown to the defendant at the time of the trial.
Okay.
2, that the evidence is material, not merely cumulative or impeaching.
Oh.
I don't know why that word was not, I could not read that word. 3, that it will probably produce an acquittal. And 4, that failure to learn of this evidence was due to no lack of diligence on the part of the defendant.
Okay.
So his evidence did not meet requirements 2 and 3. So
Right.
the material is not merely cumulative and that it would probably produce an acquittal.
Mm-hmm.
From the court document, quote, the second element is that the evidence be material, not merely cumulative or impeaching. Howell stated with regard to the time of the search that it seems to me it was in the morning. On cross-examination, he admitted that it was possible that he drove by the house at 3:15 or 3:30 in the afternoon. The district court found it significant that Howell did not make his observations known until years later.
That's true too. I was just thinking that.
For these reasons, the testimony would only have impeachment value and was cumulative of evidence submitted at the suppression hearing held in 1987.
Mm-hmm.
The third requirement of Drapeu, which is another court case, mandates that newly discovered evidence be likely to produce an acquittal. Howell's testimony is not so strong and of such a nature that would likely result in an acquittal. Again, the testimony is tentative. It did not persuade the district court that the search was conducted illegally.
Okay.
So pretty much they're saying, I see why you're wanting to come to us,
Right.
but it doesn't fit
Yeah, you
anything
don't
that
check
we
all
would
the
need.
boxes.
Right. You
Yeah.
need to fill like all these 4 requirements and you fail 2 of them. So
Right.
then Rogers tried to say that his trial was kind of ruined because Darren Cox wasn't called to testify. So like I mentioned, Cox was said to be an unavailable witness. That's apparently not true.
Okay.
So defense counsel believed Cox would plead the fifth, which is like not to incriminate yourself. But Rogers argued that Cox would have still been able to testify without exposing counsel. So I guess without like getting himself in trouble. So Rogers is saying that the counsel proceeded under the mistaken belief that Cox was an unavailable witness.
Okay.
This prompted him to claim that he had received insufficient assistance of counsel by his counsel, failing to call Cox to testify.
Counsel.
Right. So he's pretty much saying, my people screwed me over. They didn't call this witness. They said he was unavailable. Like, that's the reason why I'm here. He also believed that had Cox testified for him, Cox would have implemented himself, which is that whole pleading the fifth thing.
Right.
But his counsel came back and said that Cox had said some pretty bad things about Rogers.
Yeah.
Which is why they didn't call him to the stand.
Exactly. I'm like, he put the whole thing on you, dude.
Right. Like, Rogers was like, oh, yeah, he'll back me up. Like, we'll be good. Well, his defense counsel was like, we heard what he said about you. Like, obviously, we're going to screen the witnesses.
Right.
We heard what he said. You'd be screwed even more if he testified.
Exactly.
But obviously, it was things that Rogers didn't know that he would have said.
Right.
His request for this post-conviction relief was denied. Rogers is currently serving his life sentence at the Idaho State Correctional Center. He applied for parole back in 2005, but it was denied. So a wild thing I found while doing my research. Gotta love these newspapers.
Okay.
I didn't know where to add it, so I was like, we'll go here.
Okay.
So after he was arrested and all was said and done, he's serving his time, the Twin Falls Times-News for July 11th, 1987 released an article titled, State Tightens Up Background Checks. So at this point, he's like already in jail, arrested. I guess he's waiting his trial because it's in 1987. But okay, title, State Tightens Up Background Checks.
Okay.
So first off, apparently, Rogers had served a sentence for murder in California before he came to Idaho.
What?
He had served 5 years in the San Quentin prison in 1977. Like, that's when he got out. He went in 1977, was there until about 1982.
For murder.
For murder! Could not find that anywhere. It was just in one newspaper article. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? I typed his name. I typed his name, too, into our newspaper thing.
Yeah.
Couldn't find a single thing about it. Yeah. This came out after the Idaho Department of Health and Wellness realized that Rogers had been a foster parent and had even fostered 3 teenage boys from 1985 to the very year that all this shit went down.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
If our foster care system wasn't already so fucked.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
So the whole, like, need to tighten up the background check was because if they had done a background check or taken his fingerprints or run the fingerprints through anything, they would have found this and he would have been denied being a foster parent.
Oh my God.
So the Department of Health and Welfare determined that they needed to better their investigation process before allowing someone into the foster program, and that their oversight of Rogers' background had been a major blunder. And they knew that they were under fire and needed to have better and more rigorous background checks. So they're like bringing it to the public's attention, like, hey, we're getting better at this, but like, oh my God, what a major fuck up.
Right.
Like, he had like teenage boys living with him and he's a murderer. Twice. A twice murderer.
Oh my Lord.
So not much is known about what happened to the house after Rogers was arrested. But property records show that in 2000, a new owner by the name of James Howell was listed. So I was just noticing this as I was rereading my notes. I think James Howell is somehow related to Rogers' wife and brother-in-law.
I was just going to ask that.
Because it was his house with his wife. So
right.
I assume family just kind of took it over.
Yeah.
But since that time, Howell has rented the house out to a number of tenants, most of these tenants being students who attended Boise State University.
Okay.
So this house is said to be slightly haunted.
Of course.
So of course I had to cover why it could be potentially haunted.
Of course.
So it's said that this house where all of the dark and grimy, awful stuff occurred is haunted to this day. One constant rumor, which maybe could come from how close the school is to the house, says that a group of frat bros lived in the house and reported seeing blood dripping down the walls of the basement for years.
One of the houses that I lived in Radford.
Had blood dripping down the walls?
No. Everyone always said that it was like haunted.
Oh.
And there were definitely times
Is that the one where you were a sophomore living there?
Junior.
And
these girls who moved in after us in a different sorority, I knew one of the girls from having a class with her, so she texted me and she was like, did you ever have any like weird experiences?
What?
And I was like, I mean, there would be like a loud bang coming from what sounded like the room above me, even though I knew nobody was there.
Ew.
But I figured it was just an old house.
Yeah.
Other than that.
House settling noises.
Right. I was like, other than that, like nothing.
Ew.
Black mold in my bathroom.
Right. That's deadly.
And I was like, why? Is something happening? And apparently they were like feeling things, waking up to shit.
Ew, oh my God.
And I was like, well, that's what you get for taking our house. I didn't say that to her. I thought it.
Thank God you didn't really feel any of those things, or did you?
No.
Oh.
No. I didn't feel a goddamn thing.
Good.
But I was trashed 85% of the time.
Yeah, so but there's probably ghosts that are like, wake up. Hi.
Nothing. Yeah, no, it was just the loud, and they would be like loud bangs. Like at first when I moved in, I was like, oh my God, did someone fall?
Yeah, oh my God.
And then I realized, okay, no one's falling. Everything's fine. But then the room that was above mine, the girl like left.
Oh, so it was just empty.
So it was empty. I mean, her stuff might have been there, but like she was not staying there.
Ew.
So that's why I was confused. And then the girl in the other room, she also wasn't there. So there's really only 3 of us in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And the third girl's room would have been over the kitchen, which my room was on the first floor and connected to the kitchen.
Right.
But I still feel like, you know.
Yeah.
And then there was also one room all the way up like in the attic space.
Ugh.
So.
No, thank you.
Yeah. I don't know.
That reminds me. So I sent Mackenzie a Snapchat the other day. So I've come out of my bathroom. I've talked about it before where like the lights in our like little recording area will be on and you have to press a button hard to turn it on.
Yeah.
So I walked out yesterday night or something whenever I messaged you. I had these string lights that are in a little bin over at the side of the room. Haven't touched them in months.
Like far away in a corner under stuff.
Yes. I come out of the bathroom one day and they're on and they're red.
Yeah.
So that's creepy. And I look at it, the switch had been turned to on. Like there's a physical switch you have to push on and off. So I like clicked it off and I was like, what the fuck?
That's weird.
I sent it to Mackenzie. I was like,
I said, your house is haunted.
ugh. But so also
Sorry.
with this frat house with the blood dripping down the walls, it made me think of SpongeBob. And the walls will ooze green slime.
The hash slinging, the slash slinging,
the hash slinging slasher. Okay, so this part of the story can kind of be disproven though, because the house was never an official frat house in the first place.
They never are.
So there's no way that frat people lived there, as they say.
No, none of the houses in Radford are official. But
No, that's
we
what
just
this thingy said.
take it over.
So even if this story isn't necessarily true, people do report that the basement has a very creepy feeling.
I mean, 1, it's a basement.
It's a basement.
And then 2, someone was murdered.
Right. So, duh.
Yeah.
So one past tenant said that she absolutely hated going down into the basement. She always felt like something was off down there. She's like, there's nothing here.
Why would you go down to the basement?
I think laundry was down there.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But she's like, there's nothing here, but also at the same time, there's something here.
One of my friends, they had a house and the laundry was in the basement. And I'd be like, 1, I'm terrible about doing laundry when it's on the same floor. 2, no.
Yeah, no. Random footsteps have been heard around the house. Also, legend goes that bloodstains will appear and then disappear randomly. An old woman wearing old-fashioned clothing has been seen looking out of one of the windows.
What the fuck is she doing there?
I don't know. Just
You are not part of the story.
there has to be an old lady wearing old-fashioned
She
clothing.
didn't go here.
A local radio station, 107.9, Lit FM, like L-I-T-E FM. What?
When I was going to do the haunted things, I'm pretty sure that was one of the...
Radio station?
Yeah.
We need a radio station like this.
For like an article or something. But I thought I still had included it. And I was like, oh my God, did we actually find something from literally the same source? We didn't, but okay.
That would have been wild.
Yeah.
So this radio station asked some local students if they knew about the house or had any experiences here. Joe W., a former BSU student, told the station, quote, "The basement was creepy and had a weird feel. We would take people down there to scare them. I never saw any ghosts, but..." Frat house.
What?
"I never saw any ghosts, but you could tell something wasn't right." Rachel R. told the station that back in 2000, her family actually almost bought the house. She says it made her so anxious touring that she still has anxiety about it today when she thinks about that first tour. Quote, "It looks like it had been abandoned and the basement was by far the creepiest part," she said. Dan D. also shared his story and it goes like this. So one night, Dan and his friend thought that they heard someone break into the house. I think they were probably living here at the time.
Okay.
So the two head out to the porch just to check on things, but no one was there.
It's just so contrasting. Contrasting?
Contrasting.
Different.
About what? Like women and men?
Let me go check this out. Let me go hide.
I bet they were white.
That too.
White people always do that in scary movies.
They do.
Not going to run out the front door. I'm going to run up the stairs.
Stupid.
So
well, that's going to get you blocked in.
yeah, don't. So the two venture out into the yard to also check around the house to make sure everything was good. And it was, until Dan turned back to face the house.
No.
He said up in the window of the upstairs bedroom, he saw a, quote, big black oily looking thing. You should see Mackenzie right now. As he spotted this figure, it backed away from the window.
No.
Before it disappeared into the room.
I would
I'd never be inside again. The next thing he knew, the figure reappeared, but this time inside of a mirror that sat on the porch.
No. No. That is my worst fear.
Mirrors?
Yes.
Yes.
I will not look in one
At
if
night.
the lights are off.
No. Oh my God. I hear all these like super creepy stories because I love them. And one is like weird facts you wish you never knew. So of course I listened to it. And it was like, if you ever look in the mirror between 3 and 4 a.m., what's looking back at you is not you. And then of course I'm like, oh, there are those days when I wake up at 3:30 to get ready for work. And I'm like, doing my makeup. So
that's different. You woke up
right
at that time. I feel like if you're already up, 3:30 and 4 when you're waking up for something is very different than 3:30 and 4 when you have been awake.
Or if you've been woken up.
That too.
Without an alarm.
That too.
For reasons that you do not know.
Correct.
So this next part says, quote, Dan watched as the ball of oily blackness moved down the large column of the porch, slowly growing in size until it took up the entire reflection of the mirror and moved right through him.
Was he on acid?
There's no way to know.
Because I was like, okay, I could have done the reflection, but then you said it started moving and went through you. Now I just think you're on drugs.
Well, after recounting the story, Dan said, quote, it was the weirdest, most disturbing thing I've ever felt, and just typing this makes me feel it again. It's like ice fingers sinking into my shoulders.
Yeah.
But other families who have also lived in the house said that there was nothing paranormal going on at all. They know that it has a bad reputation, that people feel weird about it, and that people will come drive by and everything, but they haven't felt anything weird or off. This one lady was interviewed, and she was even saying, like, I've had people ask if they can, like, come tour my house because they've heard these scary things. And she's like, I felt nothing in this house.
Well, that's why, like, when I'm reading about haunted things and people are like, I just had a really off feeling. I'm like, well, no shit. But you're about to walk into a creepy place that you know is haunted.
But there is a difference between that and like feeling something. Like when we did an investigation at JMU, we went into there was this old building that had classes on the first floor, and the top floors were now abandoned floors, and the building eventually got torn down, but we were able to go investigate before it was torn down. So we're on one of the floors that had like a lab in it, and we're walking through the lab, and I was kind of towards the back, and my ex was in front of me, and there were a couple other people in our group in front of us. So I was like in the back. I have never had such a strong feeling of being stared at as I did at that moment.
Well, that's different.
It was the most uncomfortable feeling I've been in places where it doesn't feel like there's anything or like, you know, but that was just the most uncomfortable feeling of eyes on me that I literally walked backwards because I was scared that something was behind me.
That is one thing. But I mean, like, when people are like, oh, yeah, I just had an odd feeling, or like something just felt off, or I had a creepy feeling when I walked in. Yes, because it's a creepy
haunted
place.
Right. Or yeah, not even haunted. It's a creepy place.
Yeah.
So even if this house isn't haunted by spirits, it is haunted by its bad reputation.
Oh, Lordy.
So that is the Boise State University and the Murr murder.
Murder.
So that's Idaho.
Oh, that was crazy.
I know. Got some good stories from here.
Yeah.
And I didn't think I was going to cover that murder because I found the house.
Mm.
And then as you saw, there were 3 things about the house.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started to read more into the murder, and I was like,
oh, you could do the murder.
Fascinating.
Let me do this murder.
So it's like, I got a double thing here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for listening.
Yes.
As we always thank you. We love you so much.
Thank you.
Please follow us on things.
Thank you.
Rate and review us.
Thank you.
Follow our website.
Thank you.
We're a Scary State podcast almost everywhere.
Yeah.
Email us at ascarystatepodcast@gmail.com. Even if you're literally just emailing us to say hi, we'd love it.
True that.
So, do you have anything else to say?
Stay scary.
Stay safe.